Even with an eviction moratorium, can a landlord breach it, and what would happen to you? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons LALATE. Hope you're good and safe. Big, exciting, and shocking news about eviction moratoriums and why landlords still breach them, even if it becomes federal law by the Trump administration. And how would an eviction moratorium be different if Biden's elected? Incredibly interesting and great news today. This is Afternoons LALATE that starts every day with a check, 3:30, and then goes to housing pay, FPUC, and finally rent. When we talk about eviction moratoriums, we often don't realize that there's an additional layer of issues that have to be addressed. You think, okay, an eviction moratorium's issued, I'll be able to stay in my apartment. It says you can't evict me. How about mortgage forbearance? And mortgage forbearance is issued and says, oh, you can't foreclose on my house. I'm not going to be foreclosed upon. I'm there. Then what happens after, a day after becomes law, and you get something in the mail from your landlord says leave? What do you mean leave? I just got an eviction moratorium from the federal government. This is the predicament that occurred during the first stimulus package. Yes. And now there's a worry that it could come again in the second stimulus package round. As we sit here and we talk about second stimulus package approval and we talk about eviction moratorium and mortgage forbearance, we assume it's going to get approved. But the problem is whether it will be approved in a way that increases or provides for penalties to landlords that breach the rule. A new report issued in the last 7 days said one of the biggest problems about our eviction moratorium and the second stimulus package is that it doesn't inherently always have penalty clauses. And that without a penalty clause, a landlord could just simply breach it and do whatever they want to do, and you may not have the funds to fight it. Why do they say that's an issue? It's an issue because it happened in the first stimulus package. Back in May, the first stimulus package provided an eviction moratorium so you couldn't be evicted during the pandemic from the time of the CARES Act, the first stimulus package, to about like July. What happened? There was widespread occurrences of landlords violating the law, and simply just doing what they wanted to do. Well, you say it's the law. They can't do that. The problem is the law didn't provide a penalty for them doing it. And so if there's no penalty for them doing it, and you have no funds to ensure or defend against what they're doing is wrongful, there was no recourse. There was widespread reports on the first stimulus package that tenants were taking advantage of landlords who were simply that were scrupulous, that had no regards to the law and simply just broke it left and right. Well, one savior came out of nowhere to say, hey, I got to help you. I got to ensure that we do this right. And who was that? VP nominee Harris. In her second stimulus standalone bill for eviction moratoriums, this is different than the one she wrote for checks. She wrote for one for checks with Bernie Sanders, that $2,000 check for every month for 6 months. She also wrote one for rent that's actually even better than the one for revolving checks. The one for rent, she said, you can't just have an eviction moratorium if you have no civil penalty or criminal prosecution of these landlords that just are a bunch of snakes in the grass. We got to have a provision in here to get them. And she got it. In the bill that she wrote, that she introduced to the Senate on behalf of Senate Democrats, it said, you know what? We're going to give you an eviction moratorium. But if you're a landlord, you want to go and violate my rule, well, congratulations, you're going to go to jail. Congratulations, you're going to get civil penalty. Congratulations, I'm going to have penalty provisions in here for you. So don't be coming for my tenants, who I'm giving protection to in my bill, because this bill will also provide my tenants' ability to come after your ass. Now, it didn't even stop there, this is what was incredibly great news. She said, hey, I'm not even going to stop there. I'm also going to create a fund, and I'm going to create an agency to fund with that, accordingly, that will provide defense to people who are victims of landlords who want to violate the law. Boy, it's a prosecutor thinking like a prosecutor. She thought that landlords are going to violate the eviction moratorium, that landlords are going to just do what they want to do and try to evict you whether or not there's an eviction moratorium, that you need a penalty provision in there, but you also need someone to defend you, and someone has to be paid to defend you. So she provided funds to pay for the defense. She provided an agency to create the defense, and she created a bill that creates the penalty for the agency to go after that landlord. What did the Temple of Doom do? Yeah, if you hear silence, that's what she did. She did none of this. The other building on that street, the house, didn't think that way. They just sort of said, oh, eviction moratorium, it's, children going hungry. Okay, well, how are we going to enforce the eviction moratorium? Well, come up with more money and don't talk to me again. That's why the money is in the details. You have to stay attentive to details when you're doing an eviction moratorium, you're doing a mortgage forbearance rule. You can't just presume everything is free-flowing. It's not. The same concern stems from banks. When I was first starting to record these rent videos, when I started launching Afternoons LALATE, and I did this 2-hour programming block the first time, at that time I said, we don't know what banks want to do this time around. Generally in the past, banks don't like to foreclose. That's what I reported at the time. Banks just don't like to foreclose because then they get on their balance sheet a property. They don't get a mortgage payment. They don't get a principal interest payment. They don't get cash. They get a darn property. And with that darn property, they got to go figure out how to make money off of that property by selling it and doing all that. And that's not the business they're in. So generally, banks don't like to foreclose. They just want the money. Well, apparently this time around it's a little bit different. Apparently they're liking the foreclosures. Why? Because perhaps the real estate market is strong. Perhaps because real estate money numbers are going up. Perhaps they have the property mortgaged at a certain price point, and then if they go to sell it, they can get a lot more money. But for whatever reason it is, banks want to foreclose. So what does that mean to you when you have a mortgage forbearance bill that doesn't provide any protections for you? Same thing. If you have no protection to ensure that banks don't foreclose against you when there is a bill, a law on the books that says you can't foreclose against me, you have a problem. There needs to be a penalty for banks that don't comply with the new law. There needs to be some type of agency to ensure that banks don't violate federal law. Because trust me, banks do things all the time. It's not to be naive to assume, well, there's just a law, they're just going to follow it. That's not how it goes. So, getting now to who would give you this package, how would it come, who would do it, where's it coming from, and all that type of goodness. It can be come by executive order by the president. It's the most likely scenario, the most common scenario. It can come by this new stimulus package from the Democrats that are coming into the Senate. It can come from House Republicans, Senate Republicans. The whole movement is to give you this rent eviction mortgage forbearance relief now, not later. Mitch McConnell, in the last 24 hours, kept on saying, we need rent eviction. What's going on here? We need this protection right now. Hallelujah. Now, there is another twist. That twist is the rent money, which is different than the rent eviction and mortgage forbearance protection. When would you see the rent grant money, and how soon could you see it, and can you see it on a local level? Let's answer the last question first. Yes, a lot of local jurisdictions, whether it's a city or a county, whether it's a state, are doing rent grants. They're doing it all over the place. And I haven't done this video in about 2 weeks, but let me do it right now, which is if you need rent money, if you're having problems making rent, you're waiting for a stimulus check. The stimulus check was sort of your way to figure out how to make rent, or you're waiting on unemployment benefits you haven't got, so now is your way to make rent, or there's some other idea you had to make rent and you just didn't get that money. You need to look for grants in the area in which you are. Those grants could be issued on a city level, county level, or state level. I would always tell viewers this channel, Google rent grant plus the name of your city, name of your county, name of your state, because a lot of these come out very quickly and then just sort of go poof. I mean, they announce them on a Tuesday, they put it on the local news at 5 o'clock one time, and that's about it. If you don't catch that broadcast because you were watching golf on another channel, you may not even know there's a grant program available. And they're not open forever. They open their doors. People start applying for them. Here, there, here, there, here, there, here, there. And then suddenly, they're gone. They're exhausted. Remember that grant program I detailed on this channel, what was it, like a few weeks ago? I said it goes live on September 1st. Boy, it went live today. It wasn't particularly just for rent. It wasn't particularly a rent grant. But boy, I had a lot of viewers tweeting and sending DMs and sending images that, hey, I applied for the grant, I applied for the grant. These things move fast. I mean, you know, it's there's a news source that gets information out, and once people get that information out, everyone just sort of floods and swarms right to go get something, and then after that, it's just it may not be there. The president should issue an eviction moratorium. He should issue a mortgage forbearance. He has the inherent authority under the Constitution to do it. He has not done it. It's not quite clear why he wasn't doing it, isn't doing it, why he won't do it, and why it doesn't remain a focus of his administration. It also remains unclear why no one like Mark Meadows or Steve Mnuchin or Larry Kudlow or Peter Navarro or anyone that's in the White House around him on a regular basis and say, hey, President, hey, you see that executive order you did, you know, a month ago? It's not an eviction moratorium. It's you wanted to do an eviction moratorium. You told the American public they're going to get an eviction moratorium. You didn't deliver one. I think you need to do a new executive order. It just baffles the mind. I don't know why no one has talked about it. I don't know why. There's so many things about it that just makes me very confused. I don't know why no one in the Trump administration has acknowledged the error of that executive order. I don't understand why no one of the news reporters that interview the Trump administration ask them, why haven't you fixed that executive order? I don't understand why the president has never even been asked that question. It's just such an obvious, easy thing to grasp. I understand these news reporters are ignoramuses sometimes, but this is an easy one. I don't understand why every time a news reporter interviews a Mitch McConnell or a Mark Meadows, and they talk about something, and suddenly they say, and then I'll give you a rent eviction moratorium. I don't know why the next question is, why isn't the president just doing it by executive order today? Why do we have to wait for Congress? It's like altered universe. It's so right in front of everyone, and no one's taking care of it. I just don't understand. And then I don't understand the Democrats as well. I mean, the Democrats, you would think if they wanted to hammer a Republican on some issue, this would be the issue that a Democrat would just torch a Republican on. You have a president in office. He has an executive order on eviction moratorium. What's wrong with your president? You have Bernie Sanders talking about eviction moratorium 2 days ago to local news. I'm like, okay, Bernie, why aren't you referring to the president who can do it within 24 hours? Why are we talking about eviction moratorium in the context of a bill when it can be done by the president right away? It has to be done right away. In fact, the president is a member of the executive office. He is much like a governor. He is much like a mayor, except he's on a federal level. And mayors and governors across this country have taken it upon themselves to deal with eviction moratoriums. Gavin Newsom took it upon himself to resolve a battle about eviction moratoriums in California just a few days ago. Other states took it upon themselves to make a decision just months ago, like in Delaware. The governor said, hey, no evictions in our state until the pandemic's over. I'm so decreeing. He took the lead and he made a decision about it. Mayors are doing that as well. City of Santa Monica said we're going to extend the eviction moratorium in City of Santa Monica further out. But this president doesn't want to take care of it. And yet his same administration wants to talk about how we need it. And the news reporter wants to hear that comment and doesn't want to ask the follow-up question, well, why hasn't the president done it? It's just every step in this food chain makes no sense. It's as though everyone's like a little bit tipsy, a little bit incoherent, and not realizing what everyone else is saying. The president should be doing it. The cabinet members should be telling them. The cabinet members should not be talking about why the Democrats haven't done an eviction moratorium. The president should have done it. And the news reporter should be asking, when hearing a member like Meadows talk about eviction moratorium, why hasn't the president done it? Not really clear. It's situations like this that just baffles the brain. I've done videos where I said, hey, maybe he's not doing it because he has banks as lobbyists, so we just don't see. Maybe because I don't know. I just don't know, Maybe someone should turn on the lights in the Temple of Doom and see if there's, children going hungry somewhere. It's unclear. But there you go. Coming up later today is Evenings LALATE, which, boy, the last 2 days has been a real blockbuster of viewership. Thank you for tuning in. I know Rent is not always the most popular video, but thank you for tuning in and staying to the end of this video. And for that, please like the video. It helps with the algorithm. It helps get the video rank higher in rank. And then also subscribe to this channel. Hit that subscribe button on the front of this channel. We're trying to get to 250,000 subscribers in the next 2 weeks at 25,000 more. Coming up this evening is Evenings LALATE. Please tune in for that. That will be a big one. As always, stay informed, stay motivated, stay smiling, and stay LALATE for more.